Now, it took a couple of years for the series to grow and evolve onto the Super Nintendo into its 16-bit iteration, MegaMan 7. Now, this was the first actual full Mega Man game programmed in 16-bit. There was another one, but I'll get into that later. Mega Man 7 brought a new art style, new sprites, and a new flavor to the series, and it also brought a new character in the form of Otto. Known as Rightot in Japan, Otto was a support character who ran a shop, and as you played through the game, enemies could drop screws. If you collected enough of them, Otto could make you items like 1-ups, E-cans, and support items to help you along in your missions. It added kind of a fun shopping and upgrading system to the game series that was quite an innovation of its own. For Mega Man's 10th anniversary in 1997, we were treated to the Saturn and PS1 renditions Mega Man 8. Although considered by a lot of people to be the least favorite of the series, the new graphical style was very, very unique for these games. The colors were more kind of pastel and softer, the graphics were a bit more sort of rounded and cutesy, but the game still retained the trademark challenge. Was very, very hard. I really enjoyed this game. The music was fantastic, and I thought that the graphics looked quite good. The animation was really smooth. I remember when it first came out though, it introduced Bass as a character, and they had an opening cinema where we heard Mega Man speak for the first time. I was really excited, and on the release date, I picked it up and I came over to Johnny's house, and we sat down together to play it. And we cracked a cold beer and had a sip, sat back and turned on the game. The opening animation is fantastic, and pays homage to all 6 of the NES games and the 7th one on the Super NES. A lot of the bosses make cameos in it, and it was great. But when you start the game, you get an actual little animated movie, and Mega Man had this high-pitched, squeaky voice. It was really heartbreaking for me. I'd always pictured him as this tough, manly guy, and here was this high-pitched, squeaky voice coming out. Johnny thought it was pretty funny. I was kind of sad, but that's okay. That's okay. Mega Man is still the man, and he still knows how to kick some serious butt. Now, in 1998, Super Famicom owners in Japan were treated to a very cool game, Rockman and Forte, also known as Mega Man and Bass over here. It was kind of a side story, though accepted for the longest time as Mega Man 9. The concept in this that was very different was that you could play through as either Mega Man or as Bass. Each had their own storyline, each fought the same bosses, but each one had a different outcome. It was a really cool idea and a lot of fun, and again kept up those awesome graphics and amazing music. We wouldn't see this game in North American shores, however, until 2005 when it came out on the Game Boy Advance as Mega Man and Bass. Now, we all thought the 8-bit Mega Man series was done and that it had evolved up into its 16 and 32-bit iterations, and it sort of fell off after that. We got our Game Boy Advance Rockman Forte, but that was about it. In 2008, Capcom dropped a mega bomb. They brought us an 8-bit all-new Mega Man game in the form of Mega Man 9. I know there was a couple of episodes where it's been mentioned and talked about, especially the press kit episode, and I was fortunate enough to get one of those press kits. It was an incredible feeling and an amazing moment for me, and what a great game. Everything was brought back to the original 8-bit styling that all of us fell in love with. The dash and the charge shot were taken away. It was run and gun basic gaming, and what an incredible experience. The challenge, however, was insane. Mega Man 9 was violently, painfully difficult. It took me a heck of a long time to finish this game, and I don't mind saying it. It was hard, but it was all about finding those classic patterns. Everything that a Mega Man fan could have dreamed of was in these games. I was so glad to get a chance to play it. And since I've purchased both the soundtrack and the arranged version soundtrack. Another really big thing for Mega Man 9 was Proto Man. For the first time, especially in an 8-bit version, you could play as Proto Man in a Mega Man game and go through the entire adventure. He was only available as a downloadable add-on content, but really, it was well worth the money to get it. It was such a fun way to play the game and try and use whole new skills and abilities to finish off all the Robot Masters. Now, just recently, we were treated to another 8-bit sequel, Mega Man 10. It's another WiiWare, PS3, and Xbox 360 game, but incredibly, the challenge is a little step down, which is nice for me because, quite frankly, my thumbs ain't as young as they used to be, but it was just as great a game. You had Proto Man from the get-go to play with, and of course Mega Man, and you had 8 new Robot Masters with incredibly awesome levels and a lot of challenge. I'm still not all the way through the Wiley levels, I don't mind saying, but I'm savoring it in small doses. I really want to stretch this one out until Mega Man 11 hits, because I'm sure it's going to. Not only were the games released on the Famicom and NES, the Super NES, the PS1, and the Saturn, we also got PS1 re-releases of the first 6 Mega Man 1 to 6. I managed to get my hands on those as well, and although they have all the original 8-bit graphics, they do have rearranged soundtracks and lots of bonus items on them. There's artwork, there's write-ups on the bosses, there's all sorts of behind-the-scenes stuff in there. Highly recommend picking them up for die-hard fans. This is, in and of itself, one heck of a legacy. 10 games to one character's name in a classic series, that's incredible. But it didn't stop there. There were so many side games and spin-offs. It's unbelievable. One of them was Rockboard for the Famicom, and this was kind of like Monopoly Mega Man style. You could travel around the board, buying properties, and if someone else landed on it, they had to pay you rent. It was a very strange concept, but a lot of fun. A lot of the music for it is mellow remixes of the stage musics from all 6 of the NES incarnations, so very, very cool and really nice to listen to. Mega Man didn't just stop at board games, he played a little bit of soccer too. We were treated to a Mega Man soccer game for the Super Nintendo. Released in 1994, this off-the-wall sports title had you basically running an entire soccer team of Mega Mans. You played against teams that were comprised of other bosses like Bomb Man and Airman and all sorts of others from the game series, and as you beat each team, one member from that team would defect to yours and you could put him into the play as you went against other bosses. Each character had his own powered up shot that he could do at the goal that would blow up or knock down the goalie and ensure you get a point. Very strange, but very fun. Now, as I said, Mega Man 7 was the first Mega Man game that was programmed in 16-bit. But there was another 16-bit Mega Man title released before that, in the guise of Rockman Mega World or Mega Man The Wiley Wars. Only released as a cartridge in Japan and the UK and Europe. It was only available in North America as part of the ill-fated Sega Channel service for the Genesis. The game was basically the Mario All-Stars of the Mega Man set, as it had Mega Man 1, 2, and 3 with upgraded graphics and sound of the 16-bit generation. I really love this title. It's a fantastic way to play through the first 3 games, and I've always really liked the graphical upgrade they did. It was very true to the original, but definitely a little more polished. I really love this game. Another very special feature of Rockman The Wiley Wars was that if you finished off all 3 of the original games, you could unlock Wiley's Tower. As you played through it, you were allowed to choose 8 weapons and 3 support items from any of the 3 original Mega Man games on the cart itself to help you through this special game. That was a heck of a cool bonus for them to throw in for die-hard Mega Man fans. Now, in 1997, Mega Man decided to take on the go-karting world in Rockman Battle and Chase. I remember seeing the magazine ads and the previews for this game in GameFan and being so excited about it coming out here. Amazingly, it never did. At the last minute, Capcom stopped the localization and left it as a Japan-only release. I did manage to get my hands on it, and I've got to say it is some of the most fun I've had in a kart racer. You can choose to be Mega Man or one of several bosses, and you have a car themed after same. And as you travel around tracks themed after the other bosses, you can collect parts from their cars and add them to your own. Capcom Japan ran a contest where if you could beat the game as soon as possible and prove to them that you'd finished everything, they would mail you a very rare memory card for the PS1 that would unlock the Yellow Devil and Duo as playable characters. Very, very cool, very rare. I don't have one, but I would love to find one someday.